All right. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are calling. My name is Arno Alt. I am the lead transaction manager at Aqua for All for the Impact Linked Fund for WASH. And I will be guiding you through this short webinar on the SIINCs and the application process for SIINCs. I think we can go to the next slide while we also admit more people who are joining in. I wanted to just give you some housekeeping rules. First of all, please remain muted during the whole session so that we don't have any background noise. You will have moments where we have Q&As where you can also ask questions. And when you have questions during the session, just feel free to write those in the chat. And we will make sure to cover those questions during our Q&A moments. The cameras are all turned off. This is also to make sure that the streaming is working fine for everybody. So please keep them off, at least as long as you're not speaking. Then this session is being recorded. So in case you have to leave a bit early or it went a bit too fast and you want to rewatch a part of the webinar, it will be posted on our website after the webinar and you will have access to it. So I'd say thank you for your cooperation and please enjoy this webinar. We are starting just with a little poll that is popping up on your screen. It's just to get to know a bit who is today in the room, who is joining, what kind of organization you're from, and also in which sector you are active. So just so that we get an idea of who's in the room and who is participating. So while you are filling out those questions, we can move to the next slide, which is the agenda of the day. Which should pop up in a second. Basically, we will start with an introduction of Aqua for All, so just so you know what kind of organization we are. We will then jump in directly into the Impact Linked Fund for WASH, where we'll explain what is Impact Linked Financing, what are the key components of the fund, and then explain a bit more about social impact incentives, or short SIINCs, how they work, what is the theory behind it, and then we will switch to the practice. So we have today an actual SIINC case with Tap Effect Cambodia. Tap Effect is a piped water enterprise in Cambodia who will also give you a bit their perspective, how they've done the SIINC, and how has been their experience as an enterprise of having a SIINC. Later on, we'll continue with the call for applications and with some practical information for you for applying for the call. And then we will close with the Q&A session where you will have the time to ask us any remaining question you have on the SIINCs, on the enterprise that is presenting, on any other topic that you think is relevant for this. Who is presenting today? So far you heard myself, but luckily I'm not alone. I have my colleague Annemarie Mastenbroek, who is our TA manager at Aqua for All, who will be guiding the part on the actual SIINC case. We have Roswell Thomas, who is the lead business development at Tap Effect. And then we have our moderator, which is Joshua Koemans, who is helping us with the poll and also is managing the chat today. I'd say we start now with the results of the poll, just to know who is here, and Josh will take us through the results.
Yeah, so hello everyone. So we have Asia majorly represented at 34%. A couple of people from Europe, so 3 people coming in from Europe, and then also a lot, actually even more from Sub-Saharan Africa, so actually 55%. And then no one representing the other regions, but yeah, great to see a lot from those two. Types of enterprises, so we have impact enterprises at 57%, so the majority there. We have 1 impact investor, 7 NGOs, and then 5 which don't fit into our categories. And then the focus. So yeah, a lot in drinking water, so 53%, so 16 organizations, 2 in sanitation, 8 in water and sanitation, and then the rest with 1 or 2 of those. And then in terms of the SIINCs, so yeah, looks like some of around half have seen it, and then half haven't, and then a couple in between. So I think for those who have heard it before, maybe there's a bit of repetition, but definitely great to hear the story from Tap Effect. And for those of you who haven't, good luck. I think you've got a lot to learn today. Super interesting stuff. So I'm going to mute myself now and let Arno take over.
Thank you, Josh. And indeed, perfect. We're happy to see a good mix of in the audience. So we're happy for the ones who are new to explain in more detail the theory and also what is behind the Impact Link Fund for WASH. But first, let's start with Aqua for All, our organization, just so that you know who we are and what we do. Aqua for All is a catalytic capital provider that supports drinking water and sanitation solutions in Africa and Asia. We have over 2 decades of experience in supporting market-based solutions and with working with social entrepreneurs. And from this experience, we have developed our dual approach. The dual approach is focusing on both bridging the service gap for WASH enterprises and also the financing gap, because a lot of WASH enterprises cannot get access to finance. Our overall goal is to accelerate the universal access to affordable, inclusive, and sustainable water and sanitation services globally. And we are the funder and the co-designer of the Impact Linked Fund for Water and Sanitation and Hygiene, or short ILF for WASH. And we have done that in support of Roots of Impact, who has helped us design the fund and is also still our consultant and supported in this journey. If you go to the next slide, we go right into the Impact Link Fund for WASH. So ILF for WASH is a dedicated fund that enables WASH impact enterprises to gain access to innovative finance to scale both in business and in impact terms. How does this look like? You can see on the next slide, we have a fund that has a size of 10 million euros, where we deploy 3 different instruments. One are the social impact incentives. That's the one that is also open for the call today. We also have simple agreement for future impact, or short SAFIs, and we also provide technical assistance. When we do those investments, or basically the support that we give out, is in the form of ticket sizes between 150,000 euros to up to 350,000 euros, with a focus on target geographies like Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and MENA. We focus on impact enterprises that have attention in scaling commercially and reaching impact goals. And we want to support enterprises that have a specific focus on low-income communities, gender, and climate. So if you go to the next slide, why did we decide to set the Impact Linked Fund for WASH? First of all, we realized that there's significant potential for the WASH space in finding an instrument that is sitting between grants and impact investing. There's a lot of enterprises who are either depending fully on grants or are fully depending on raising investment through impact investors. And we thought we need to create something that is in between, that is filling this gap that is there. And impact linked finance is an innovative way of doing so. That's why we have these 2 instruments, like the social impact incentives and also the simple agreement for future impact, who help to fill in this gap. Then we have specifically technical assistance that we provide in combination with impact linked finance. We support directly WASH enterprises, but also ecosystem enablers on building capacity in impact measurement and management, as well as the investment readiness. And we also provide tailored support depending on the needs of the enterprises. The idea is that we want to create a pipeline of enterprises that are ready for impact-linked finance, and as well prepare those enterprises for other actors in the sector that would want to support them. The last component is the research. If you go one back, is the research component, where we now 2 slides back, where we specifically develop. Yeah, now we're going in the wrong direction, but no problem. We're not yet at the end. We're still at the beginning. No, but we focus on developing research and also creating documentation to explain impact-linked finance, as well as it's 1 slide back, as well as sharing our lessons learned on impact-linked finance, just so that the wider community is more aware of how impact-linked finance works, and also on the general learnings that we find out as we roll out our program. We also have just done a study on gender, where we linked WASH outputs to gender outcomes. So if you're interested, please have a look on our website, as we published this study, I think, just a few weeks ago. If you go to the next slide, you can see our journey to date. We started in 2020 with just a pilot of starting 3 SIINCs with 3 enterprises just to test it out. And after creating those, we realized that it was really a success, and there was really a strong demand from the entrepreneur side for these type of solutions. And that's when we launched the Impact-Linked Fund for WASH in 2022. Since then, we have created 8 different transactions with enterprises, and have trained more than 25 enterprises with technical assistance in different formats. So I've talked a lot about the fund, but not yet about what is impact-linked finance yet. So let me do that with the next slide, where you can see a little bit what it is about. On the left side, you see the little diagram that has 3 keywords that are more and more relevant in the development sector: blended finance, result-based finance, and impact investing. And impact-linked finance really sits at the intersection of those 3. The idea of impact-linked finance is that we put an economical value behind social and environmental impact, and then provide these rewards when an enterprise reaches those goals. When we do so, we follow 3 criteria. It's the 3 criteria you see on the right, to ensure that the way that we create those contracts or these transactions makes sense. 1, it's always bottom-up and enterprise-centric. So we work together with the entrepreneur to find out, okay, what is your business model? What is the tension point? Where can we help you scale without compromising your commercial viability? And how can we help you unlock the full potential in question of impact? Second, we have an impact-focused and performance-based focus. So the rewards are directly linked for achieving positive impact. And then third, we focus on additionality. So we provide these incentives for you to go beyond your business as usual. The idea is that we support you in creating impact that would normally not be possible. For example, if it's because of market failure, if it takes longer to be break-even to service poor customers, or for example, if you have high startup costs when you go for last-mile households, but have a subscription service that will make sure that in the long run, these households remain connected to your solution, then these are the moments where ILF, or specifically social impact incentives, are very impactful. How does it look like in question of setup? So you can see in the next slide how a social impact incentive is built. So in the center, you have the impact enterprise that is creating impact. The impact enterprise is raising an investment in form of debt, equity, or mezzanine through an investor. And that investor is basically providing the working capital for the impact enterprise to work. For SIINCs, this is a mandatory requirement to actually raise investment, as the rewards that you get from the SIINCs are always related to results. So they only arrive after achieving the results and cannot be used as working capital. The rewards, they are paid by the outcome payer. In this case, it's Aqua for All. And after agreeing on specific KPIs that we agree together, when you reach those, this can unlock the payments for those rewards. What we do is then we always hire an external impact verifier who then comes and check after 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, what is the situation in the field. And once they verified and confirmed the impact, we can unlock the payments. The idea is that with the SIINC, we provide you additional revenue streams. This improves your P&L, and that makes you also more attractive for the investor that is seeking to invest in you. At the same time, it also enables you to provide more impact and be more attractive for an investor that is impact-driven. And the idea is that we can really help you continue to grow while also focusing on impact. So that's, of course, the theory. I'd say it's best to be switching to an actual case, which is with Tap Effect. I will give the word to my colleague Annemarie, who will guide us through the case.
Yes, thank you very much, Arnoud. Yeah, so we are happy today to have Tap Effect joining us in the webinar. So Tap Effect is a social enterprise that was founded in 2019. And what Tap Effect does, they operate piped water systems across Cambodia that supply rural households. So their focus is on increasing access to water for last mile communities. And what makes Tap Effect's approach very interesting is that they bring in the technical know-how and the financial capabilities to ensure that rural piped water networks are designed, built, and operated sustainably. So basically, Tap Effect has 2 revenue models. One is where they build, own, and operate new systems. And the other one is where they improve existing water operation facilities. So currently they have 4 systems in operation. And they have been contracted for SIINC in September 2024 for a period of 3 years. In this slide, indeed, you see that 2 main metrics were identified and 1 additional bonus metric. So the first metric is targeted at increasing the connection speed for new low-income households in rural communities to access clean piped water through the new connections. And typically these households would, before the connection by Tap Effect, rely on ponds or rainwater. So that's where also the additionality comes in of Tap Effect coming in. And then the second metric is focused on connecting bathrooms to piped water to allow for enhanced overall hygiene practices. And this is a business offering that Tap Effect would not have offered without the SIINC. So also again, this is where the impact additionality of the SIINC comes in. And then lastly, there's a bonus metric where connections to the most marginalized households who are registered in Cambodia's ID poor system, and they would otherwise be less likely connected given the upfront connection fee. So again, as you see, all metrics are targeted at creating impact additionality, which is key for SIINC. If you can go to the next slide, we can say a bit more about details of the SIINC. For all committed an amount of 250,000 euros for a period of 3 years. And the payments are triggered by independently verified results after each year. And it's actually good timing because we can share some results already that were independently verified recently in the first verification period. So around 1,800 additional households were reached in 2 of the systems that Tap Effect operates. Around 900 new bathroom connections were installed and 17 ID poor households were reached. So very good impact results so far after 1 year of implementation, and also promising for the years to come. So various entrepreneurs and staff of impact-driven enterprises are joining this webinar today, as we saw in the poll, but also other types of organizations. And we therefore thought that for people with various roles in the room today, it would be nice and also interesting to hear directly from an enterprise that is working with us on a SIINC on how they experience the SIINC and what it means for their business. So again, we are happy to have Tap Effect with us. Roswell, you have been introduced before. Thank you so much for joining and for sharing your experience. We think it's best to structure around a few questions that might be useful for the audience to get your view on. So let me start with a very broad question, but still interesting. Could you share a bit on how you have experienced SIINC so far?
Yeah, thanks, Emery. So in terms of how we've experienced, and thanks for the kind introduction. I think so far the SIINC has been great in that it's unlike a lot of other grants, you can kind of approach it however you like. You can iterate a lot in terms of reaching the goal. It's not a lot of like detailed nitty-gritty donor reporting on like, oh, we did this work stream and that work stream, and like, and sort of trying to put someone else's impact agenda onto your operations. Like it's really the indicators were well aligned with what we're measuring already, like, and it really helped to for us to articulate and then build that indicator on top of our theory of change. And I think it's been a nice challenge for the company just being motivated towards getting those objectives, right? Like as an entrepreneur, as a startup, there's always a million different things on your mind, like, a million different priorities. But having that incentive money at stake, you can bet, like, from an organization, we all knew, like, how many connections have we made, how many bathroom connections have we sold. Not so many ID port connections this year, but that's definitely something that we're going to be accelerating next year too. So I do think it helps to have that money at play to really focus and to drive some innovations, because we're also, like, early in the SIINC, we were like, okay, well, how many connections do we make last month? Oh, that didn't very well. Like, let's try something else. Okay, now this is working better, but could we do even better? And then going like that. So I think from that perspective, it's been really good. It's I tell people it's not an ordinary grant. I know, like, so we don't have all the hassle and headaches of some other grants, but it's also a grant that you don't get unless you succeed, right? It's so that's been a little bit interesting. But I think in terms of helping our organization to stretch a little bit into achievable impact, but it was, a little bit like take a bigger risk. It's been very useful for that.
Thanks, Roswell. Yeah, actually, I see the second question popping up, but you have already partly answered that question around the main benefits, right? I heard you say it's indeed kind of motivating or challenging enterprises to go the extra mile bit to stretch into achievable impact. Yeah, of course, you also mentioned it's not upfront, right? So it's based on actual results. So I think you already answered also the second question to an extent, unless you have something. Is there something like very explicit that stands out as a main benefit of the SIINC for tap effect? If you could formulate it in one overall benefit.
Yeah, just quickly, I think the SIINC has been a great introduction to the broader world of results-based finance. So based on our experience with the SIINC, actually, we've gone a bit further. We're part of the Outcomes Finance Alliance's cohort, so we're working with them on building a sort of results-based fund there. So it's definitely, and then that's opened us up to engagements with other multilaterals or family offices that are really interested in this new emerging trend of results-based finance. Is one more benefit I would throw in there.
Thanks, Roswell. That's super clear, and I think also helpful for the audience to know. Yeah. Then, lastly, before we dive into a broader Q&A also with the audience, what advice would you give an enterprise that is interested in applying for SIINC? Is there anything concrete that you can share, tips and tricks?
So I think one thing that was strange for us to get used to early in this application was how to structure the indicators exactly. As a startup, we want to get all the money, but as a impact funder, you guys want to get something that's above and beyond business as usual. And so, I think looking back on that, it's really a matter of looking around your business, looking at your impact, and asking, having a little brainstorm. Wouldn't it be nice if, and then what's something above business as usual that you could do, right? And you're going to get some brainstorm. You get some crazy. Wouldn't it be nice if Tap Effect were scaling to 5 new countries, right? But don't make your SIINC on the crazy one. But for us, it was hey, wouldn't it be nice if we could connect households faster? Wouldn't it be nice if we could make sure people were using clean water for hygienic purposes, like with the bathroom? And hey, wouldn't it be nice if we could engage more low-income people in that? And so I think that was the sort of right balance in terms of going into this.
Thanks so much. Yeah, so it's basically also a nice incentive in itself to think out of the box and beyond your business as usual, as you say. So that is also an advice, maybe also for entrepreneurs applying, to already think about that, on what that would be, to think a bit beyond your business as usual, also for the application process, I can imagine. Yeah, is there any last thing you would like to mention to the audience before we dive into the Q&A? I mean, you've already shared quite a bit, so it's not a must.
No, I think that's it. I'm happy to chat more about our overall very good experience with this. And I would say, think about your additionality, think about your wouldn't it be nice if, but also keep in mind that you don't meet the target, then you don't get the money. So adjust your risk tolerance accordingly. But yeah, definitely. Thanks again to the Aqua for All team for your support, and and it's great to get through this. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Roswell, for sharing this. I don't know how we are time-wise, Arnoud, but I think we can move to the...
I think we're still good. If there are any questions you have to Roswell, I think it's the moment, right? He's available, so please drop them in the chat, and I think Joshua will pick up the questions that are interesting.
We have some questions coming in. So question number 1 comes from Brian. What were the challenges through the SIINC application process? Also, what have been your main challenges through implementation? Roswell?
That is for you, Roswell.
Oh yeah, sure, great, thanks, Brian. Through the SIINC application process, again, I think it was fine tuning, like how much we were stretching versus how much was business as usual. And I think, yeah, being conservative, we were like, yeah, we wanted more conservative targets, so we were more likely to get the money. So I think it was being upfront about, yeah, like just learning to building that trusting relationship with the Aqua for All team in terms of saying, like, okay, yeah, we could do this, we can't do that, and then what's in the middle. The main challenges for the implementation, I think, was just refining our understanding about what was getting people to connect to Pipewater. The bathroom part, we all thought it was going to be harder to get people to connect their bathrooms, but actually I think that was we stumbled into a pretty easy win with that, where it's just a matter of us making an easy to understand package for the sales team to pitch the households on. So that's great. And again, that's something that we're going to continue doing beyond like getting this incentive, just because we're finding that it works well from our business. And then getting the ID Pour connected was a big challenge, because I mean, the reason it's hard is they don't have money. We thought a couple times, and we were back and forth on this, like, should we just take our SIINC incentive and pass it on to them in terms of discount? You discount the connection, and then that goes. And I think we're working on some more innovative approaches to that first. And I guess that's an ongoing challenge, because we got 17 households. We're grateful for those guys so far, and we have more to learn. But it's a 3-year contract, and we're just at the end of the first year, so the adventure continues.
Great. And then from Nick, we have, as Aqua for All SIINC is not a way for you to finance your working capital requirements, how do you cover these, and how do you integrate these future proceeds from the SIINC into your bookkeeping?
Right. Yeah. So it's we had our own pre-financing for the activities there, and we're lucky to have other investors that can help out with that. And then integrating the future proceeds, it's not quite that complicated. I think we're just saying, hey, we recognize the revenue when we get it in. But yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, one last one for you, Roswell. What could you not have achieved had there been no SIINC?
That's a good question, and I think I mean the nature of it is you get the money afterwards, right? So it's like, we achieved all of it without the SIINC support. Like, if they were like, surprise, you don't get the money, like, we still would have achieved it. But no, the contract is there. I think, actually, in all seriousness, having the contract did help. Like, our investors evaluated that favorably, that we had this contract with the revenue coming up. So I think that was good. And then I think also the process of developing a theory of change and working with the Aqua for All team to have something that, iterating our internal theory of change to something that's more at this international level that we're looking at with this organization was also useful. Good question.
Great. Thanks, Moon. So just for everyone who's put questions in the chat that I'm not getting to yet, anything that I feel is general or might be answered along the way, I'm going to leave. And if it's not answered, then we'll work on answering those at the end. I'll let you take over again, Arnold.
Perfect. Thanks, Josh. And thanks, Roswell, for sharing your perspective and your experience. I'd say let's go to the call for application itself. We have here the list of the key selection criteria. This is also available online. It's the same information, but I'm happy to just go through it so that you hear it from us directly. So who is eligible for SIINCs? First of all, you need to be acting in the water and sanitation and hygiene sector. We as Aqua for All, we can only support WASH enterprises. So if you're not in that sector, or if it's not part of your business, then unfortunately it's not going to be a match. In question of geography, well, we focus on Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the MENA region. we prefer LDCs and LMIC countries. So that's because of our donor, who have also a certain preference for those countries. So I think that also answers one of the questions that was in the chat. Question of legal form. So there's no constraints as long as you are a revenue generating enterprise. That's what's relevant for us. In question of investment, you heard it, for the SIINCs, you always have to be raising investment at the same time. It can be in the short term, midterm, but what's important is that you raise repayable investment. So it's either debt, equity, or mezzanine. For drinking and water and menstrual hygiene enterprises, we set the threshold at least 500,000 euros. And then for sanitation enterprises, as we understand, it's also even more difficult. I'm not saying it's easy for anybody. I'm saying it's even more difficult for sanitation enterprises. We have set up a threshold at 250,000 euros to also allow more sanitation enterprises to be eligible for SIINC. Then what is the stage of the enterprise? It has to be enterprises that are already at growth stage. So you should have at least already 3 years of business track record. The idea is that we're going to set up targets with you based on your current business model. And if your enterprise is fairly new, you have just started, everything is extremely dynamic, and you have not yet much experience, it's almost impossible to set fair targets. So that's why we focus on enterprises that have at least 3 years of track record. Then an important component is financial sustainability. So we're looking for enterprises that have already reached break-even or profitability, and if not, that have a clear plan to do so in the short term. The idea is that the SIINCs are, of course, one-off. They're time bound, so we wouldn't want that what we create with you stops because you end up not be able to be financially viable. The next point is the impact focus. Well, obviously, we focus on WASH enterprises that have a specific focus on low-income communities, gender, and/or climate. And then another important component is the impact evidence. Since we're setting up targets based on outcomes, on WASH outcomes, it's important that you have a way of tracking those and actually already have data, because or else we cannot set targets with you that make sense. So having an impact measurement system is extremely important to qualify for a SIINC. If it's something that can still be built, in some cases we also provide technical assistance to help you on building those capacity. And then if you go to the next slide, what are questions we very often get? First on the ticket sizes, we already covered it before, but yeah, they're roughly between 150,000 and 350,000. It really depends on one side how much money you are raising in the question of investment, because we also have a leverage target as Aqua for All. And second, it's also how much impact can you actually deliver. So depending on the actual potential, that can also drive the amount up that you can get in question of reward. Then one of the questions we also get is how long are the SIINCs? So usually we set them up between 2 to 3 years with a preference for 3 years, because obviously it takes time to deliver impact. So we want to give you the time to actually realize the impact. Then who is eligible? Yes, only enterprises that are working on WASH solutions. And then by when is the end of the application process? Well, that's on Sunday, 2nd of November at midnight. So that gives you still 1 month to submit your application. On the next slide, you see all the links with all the documents that you can find about the call, but also about Impact Link Finance in general. first you have our link to apply, which is in type form. What's important is that type form asks you one question by one, so you do not know yet all the questions up front. If you want to prepare offline, you can also download the questions on the form by using this link, and then prepare offline and then do everything at once. Up to you, but I think it's quite handy if you also need information from different departments or colleagues of your organization. We have, of course, a web page where we explain everything. We have a specific leaflet that explains as well the SIINC. We have an ILF matching tool. That's just a simple tool that helps you in case you're not sure if you're ready for a SIINC or impact-linked finance in general. It has a few questions that you can answer, and then we'll tell you within minutes if you're eligible or not. So really worth also trying out and see what this tool says in case you're in doubt. And then we also have an FAQ because a lot of the questions we get them often. So probably you get an answer quicker by checking the FAQ. You can also send us an email directly, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. I think we can get now to the last slide, which is basically opening for the Q&A. So feel free to put all your questions, and Josh will pick out the questions that need answering.
Hey guys, so there's some which I feel have been already answered. So by the presentation, because they were asked quite early. But if at the end you really feel they haven't been answered, so I'm going to go through it, and if you feel yours hasn't been answered, then you can just put it in again. Okay, so are there any specific countries in Sub-Saharan Africa? So of course you've said Sub-Saharan Africa, but just is there specific countries which are being targeted there for this round?
Good question. Thank you for that. No, we don't have specific countries. We do have a preference, though, for LDCs and LMICs. So these countries, or the organizations coming from those countries, will get preferred in the selection process. It doesn't mean if you're not from an LDC or LMIC, you shouldn't apply. It just means that you get less points. Yes.
Perfect. So Ahoga asks, who is the payer and what is their role?
Yeah, I think this question is related to how the slide that showed the different parties in the SIINC. The outcome payer in this case is Aqua for All. So we are the outcome payer, and we're the one who set up the contract with the enterprises. And then also make the payouts directly to the enterprises who are generating the impact.
How many projects can be funded in this round?
That's a very good question. So it's we have roughly space between 4 and 5 enterprises. So this means this is going to be, of course, competitive, but I think you are used to this process.
Is there any provision of advance for the investment? I'm not sure if you need more context on that one.
I believe it's a question of, because the SIINCs are always providing the rewards after achieving the targets. We know in some cases that, especially if we ask the enterprise to deliver certain types of impact, that they do need some pre-investment. And in some cases, we do provide a partial prepayment. With TAP Effect, I think we did the same. It's a good example where we, in the start, provided a prepayment upfront, which enabled them to start up.
Are rural focused enterprise treated differently from urban ones in terms of eligibility or evaluation?
So, of course, we want to focus on global access, but that said, we know that SIINCs are really specific on creating additional impact and allow impact in areas where it's more difficult. So last mile rural access is really something that is more difficult. So obviously that is of course a good fit. It doesn't mean that we only do rural access. We also do peri-urban access. So it's in the end, it's about how well you as an organization, your business model fits with this setup and this type of incentive.
Francisco asks, can you share examples of how climate and gender outcomes are quantified in the SIINC model?
Yeah, that's a very good question. On gender, we have done, for example, a SIINC with Djibu. It's an enterprise active in Africa that is providing drinking water through water ATMs. And they have a franchise model. And what we've done is that we have agreed together that we wanted to help them in increasing the share of franchisees being women. So really focusing on the percentage of women being entrepreneurs. And in that case, the indicator was focused really on women entrepreneurship. That is one example. For climate, we have not yet found or set up a specific KPI. So it's still in the making. It will depend a bit on the enterprises that we see and we will run into. But we're looking forward to find something that could work.
From Romain, we have a very long question with quite specific elements about the company. So maybe if you Romain, it's best to use then the tool online to check your eligibility based on your specific factors of your company. And then Julian asks, with regards to enterprise stage, should the enterprise have 3 years experience with the specific activities suggested in the SIINC, or 3 years overall experience, i.e. other WASH activities?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure I understand the question. I guess just to give a general answer, yeah, if your enterprise exists already for more than 3 years, but you're active in WASH only for, let's say, 1, then it becomes difficult, right? It's again the idea that we want to work with enterprises that already have experience, already have collected data, and where it becomes easier to predict as well what they can achieve. Because when we want to set up targets and KPIs, or basically the metrics, we have to base it on your experience. So if you've been active in the WASH sector only for 1 year, but let's say for 10 years already in agri, it will still not be a match.
Question, I assume from a consultant, are there any benefits for consultants who refer qualified WASH projects to apply?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you repeat?
So are there any benefits for consultants who refer qualified WASH projects to apply? So referral.
For referral. Well, no, unfortunately, we don't have budget for that. But obviously, if you know an enterprise that is impact driven and that could really benefit from this type of setup, yeah, we'll be happy if you can recommend the program, because obviously we're here to support those enterprises directly and help them become bigger and deliver their services to more people, so that more people have access to safe drinking water and safe sanitation. So please help us on that mission.
Diga says, we've raised investments in the past, are going to raise further investments in Q1 of 2027. Will we be eligible for SIINCs? In the application form it mentioned we have to raise investment in the next 12 months. However, Arnold mentioned short-term, mid-term. Want some clarity.
Yeah, a very good question. Obviously, we look at it case by case, right? Raising investment is a long process and it's a heavy process for enterprises. So we look at it based on okay, how far are you already in the process? How likely is it going to be for you to be able to raise the investment? Do you have already experience in raising investment? These are all factors that help us determine how likely it's going to be, and that's what matters. So if you say, okay, it's going to be Q1 2027, obviously it's not within the next 12 months, but for me that would not be a blocking point.
What are some of the reasons you found a really strong application but could not fund it in the past? So I guess some blocks on strong applications.
What we've seen is if you have a business model that is project-based, where, for example, your customers are, let's say, mostly NGOs or governments, where you have less influence on who is going to be the end customer, then it becomes difficult, because then you do not have that much influence. Then it becomes like more, then it's not really possible to set up a SIINC. Then it's easier to set up a standard grant with like a project financing. But obviously this is not what we're doing with the SIINCs now.
Then we have, you presented the SAFI instrument in the beginning of the presentation. When we launched this specific instrument?
Yeah, it was launched actually 2 years ago. We have two enterprises that have received, actually one enterprise that has received a SAFI, and one enterprise that has received an impact-linked loan. So they're already live. With the current program and the current budget that we have, we are focusing though only on social impact incentives. We'd be happy to create SAFIs or impact-linked loans again in the future, but they will not be in this round. There will be then a new call for applications when we will have space for them again.
What level of engagement or support can applicants expect during due diligence?
So yeah, the due diligence is an important part. Obviously, during the process, we want to first get to know you. So we will have interviews, obviously, with you. We have data rooms where you can upload then documentation. But these are the steps that come after you pass the first selection. So in the first steps, it will be really focusing on what you provided through the application and through Typeform, and then the first general interview questions that we will have. And only once the first selection has passed, we go into the heavier due diligence, because we don't want you to spend too much time on providing lots of documentation if there's no positive outlook. So we want to be mindful of everybody's time.
And then, do we need any matching investment commitment at the time of application?
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be at that moment precisely. You have to be in the process, though. So you have to be in the process of raising investment, and then possibly already have good leads. So that's going to be relevant for us when we choose which enterprises we work with.
We have more than 3 years of experience in the WASH sector. Recently, we merged the WASH enterprise into a new broader enterprise to expand our mission. Can we apply using the enterprise name while reflecting the 3+ years of WASH experience?
Yeah, if you merge, if you change your enterprise, but you still have this track record, and it's still the same operations, then yeah, you can say that you have more than 3 years experience. Yeah.
So I'm gonna put the poll up just as we answer the last questions. All right.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I see we have a lot of questions still popping up. So for the ones that we will not be able to respond in live, we'll just try to reply to you per email afterwards, just to make sure that you also get the answers that you need.
Yeah, perfect. So just if there's any, I'll pick one last question. So what key impact KPIs you focus on, and is budget provided to support data collection? Roswell, from your SIINC experience and Aqua for All in setting KPIs, could you clarify? So I think I'll let you take this, Arnold, and if you have anything, Roswell, which you feel Arnold hasn't answered there, you can hop in.
All right. On data collection, we have. It always depends. Obviously, we have selected enterprises in the past where their data collection tools needed some upgrade, and there we also have provided within the SIINC additional funding to make sure that they can get that data. But obviously, it has to be ways that you integrate data in your own systems. So we don't necessarily go for just paying for one-off surveys. The idea is that we help you build the knowledge on the impact that you create with your customers in general, and actually can actively use that data for commercial reasons, for impact reporting, and also for raising investment.
Perfect. Roswell, any specific KPIs you'd like to share or experience with the budgeting?
KPIs for the budgeting. No, I like just to reiterate, like our KPIs follow our impact pretty closely. And then it was a good opportunity, this project, to upgrade the internal dashboard that we have that's reporting, number of people connected and different types of connections and things like that. So that's been pretty smooth from our side. The independent verifiers came and they had some data requests to make just some spot checks and things like that, but it wasn't a really heavy lift on that, which we definitely appreciate.
Perfect. All right, I'll end the questions there. And if anything hasn't been answered, like Arnaud said, you can check the FAQs on the website or email us directly. So I'm going to end the poll now also. We've got some nice results coming in. Seems like we have a lot of people who are still looking to apply, so that's great to hear. And also our webinar met your expectations, so also great to hear that. So thank you all for being here. Arnaud, do you have any last words you'd like to say?
No, same. Thank you, everybody, for joining and for your interest in social impact incentives. I'm happy to see that after the webinar, most of you are still interested and still plan to apply. For the ones who see it's not a match, it's also good, because then I think it was a good time invested. We're looking forward to see your applications coming in soon. I would like to thank also the team for presenting today, and also thank you, Roswell, for showing the case of Tap Effect. And with that, I would wish you a nice evening, rest of the day, depending on where you are.
Just one last thing. Where should they direct their questions to? Should that be directly to you, Arnaud?
We will share, normally we share as well the email address. In general, it's ilf@aquaforall.org. I see Anna-Marie already tapped it in the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to send your questions to that email address, and we'll try to respond to them as fast as possible.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.